Many thanks to Jerb, Skillspeeder Gaming, Jaren, DayZ Podcast, Taggies Tag West, and that random one for making this video possible. The amount of damage Armour can absorb has been hit harshly in patch 1.12, so much so that one piece of armour in particular has become completely useless against gunshots. To know which piece of armour I'm talking about, you will need to watch this video to the very end without skipping, and like and subscribe. Okay, it's the tactical vest, otherwise known as the high capacity vest. It used to reduce gunshot damage by 50%. Now it doesn't protect you against ballistics at all, which means the only pieces of armour that protect your torso in DayZ now are the plate carrier vest, press vest and stab vest. But with 1.12 came major changes to damage of weapons and the protection values of these three vests. To show you what I mean, here is a nice little chart that shows the health damage changes, shock damage changes, and whether or not a player gets downed because of health damage or shock damage. As an example here, buckshot in 1.12 would one-shot a player in the chest with or without protection, so as shown here, only requires one shot to reduce someone's health to 0. But with 1.12, the plate carrier can now tank an extra shot from the mighty shotgun, which is a buff, of course, of one extra shot, which is pretty cool. So in this case, the plate carrier got buffed. However, in 1.12 the shock damage the plate carrier absorbed has been reduced, resulting in the player going unconscious in one shot from buckshot, which means in 1.11 one-shotting a player was possible with the shotgun, but in 1.12 one-shotting the player is still possible, but this time they're going to go unconscious instead. Now, due to the buckshot being a very strong ammo type in DayZ, it does one-shot kill in all other circumstances, as you can see here. Now, I'm not just going to show you buckshot in this video, I'm going to show you how many shots it takes to down a player in 1.11 and 1.12 for all ammo types against all types of chest armor.
Let's do this.
Seeing as we covered buckshot, we're continuing on with the shotguns, so we'll have a look at slugs next. For the plate carrier, it's going to take 2 extra shots in this patch and 1 extra shot for both the press vest and the stab vest, making these two vests twice as strong against shotgun slugs in 1.12 when it comes to absorbing health damage dealt by slugs. However, due to shock damage changes in 1.12, these numbers here are exactly the same as these numbers here, and because these numbers are the lowest numbers of shots required to down a player, they are also the numbers we're going to place here. Which means between 1.11 and 1.12 it takes the same number of shots to down a player with slugs, but wearing a vest that offers protection will stop you from dying and instead go unconscious. In fact, the results here are the only numbers that matter here. Forget health damage numbers and shock damage numbers like the ones I've showed you here, these are just fluff. The only result that matters in the end is the results that we get in the game, and as far as slugs go, there are no changes. Moving on to robbers, they've changed significantly in this patch, a buff very much needed as their only use case really is to knock players out because their health damage is so low, and because they do it so effectively, this makes robber slugs one of the best ammo types in the game now. Next are the controversial 5.56x45 rounds fired by the M4, AK-101 and newly added Pioneer or Scout rifle. They used to have 100 damage in 1.12 but recently got a nerf down to 90 damage, but this doesn't stop them from being beasts at downing players still due to their 50% buff to shock damage compared to 1.11. The 5.45x39 rounds fired by the 74 family are not as good as the other assault rifle rounds in DayZ, but they can still make an unarmoured player go unconscious in one shot due to their shock damage of 85, which means all the assault rifles in DayZ one-shot unarmoured players. The final round used by assault rifles are the 7.62x39s, which are now the most powerful assault rifle round. But if you compare the number of shots it takes to down a player with 5.56s compared to 7.62x39s, they're the same. Onto the sniper rounds now, starting with the 7.62x54s fired by the Mosin and the SVD. Basically, these now one-shot everything. But do take note how the stab vest can tank an extra shot when it comes to health damage now, where the press vest can't. Although the 7.62x54 rounds have 20 more shock damage compared to the 308s fired by the Winchester Blaze and the LAR, the difference between these two rounds won't be noticeable 99% of the time. An interesting one here, the 9x39s fired by the VSS and ASVAL haven't changed much in this patch, and that includes the armor piercing rounds too, with the exception of the plate carrier tanking 1 extra armor piercing round. This means that armor piercing rounds don't completely ignore armor like they used to, but still reduce the protection of armor a very large amount, because it takes 5 regular rounds as you can see here to get through the plate carrier instead of 3 with the armor piercing variant. Moving on to the lower caliber rounds in DayZ now, starting with the 45s. At first you may believe 10 rounds is a lot to kill a player with a plate carrier vest, but it's only going to take 3 shots to make a player go unconscious with this weapon, which means against plate, the 45s are actually twice as effective as they were in 1.11, because it used to be 6 and now it's 3. In my last video, when I showed how much the 357 rounds got nerfed, many people commented on how the nerf was too much, and while the 357s don't one-shot kill unarmored players now, they will make them go unconscious in one shot instead, because they do exactly 75 shock damage, which is exactly how much shock damage you need to do to make someone go unconscious. Another controversial ammo type was how the 9mm rounds were too similar in damage to the 45 rounds, but as you can see here, it takes more shots to down a player with 9mm rounds compared to 45s. There certainly is a difference between these two ammo types, and that's down to the 45s having a higher shock damage compared to the 9mm. Also note with the 9mm that it takes 1 extra shot to kill a player that has a stab vest compared to a press vest, and this is solely down to the durability differences between these two vests. Onto the 308s fired by the Makarov and Scorpion, and surprisingly caused a lot of unconscious players in 1.11, as shown here in 1.11 on my test server. Just 3 shots in 1.11 makes a player go unconscious, which coincidentally is the exact same in 1.12. But against plate carrier, the 308s are twice as effective at downing a player, much like the 45s here, requiring 5 shots instead of 10. And finally we come to the weak 22 rounds, requiring many shots to down a player, and due to their shock damage nerf in this patch, now requires 1 extra shot in 1.12. It used to be 3 shots in 1.11, but now in 1.12 it's 4 shots. And that's all the ammo types in DayZ against all types of chest armor, but what we haven't established yet is just how big the difference is between 1.11 armor and 1.12 armor. So if we total the amount of shots it takes for each of the 15 ammo types in DayZ, we can see the average difference between being downed in patch 1.1 compared to being downed in patch 1.12. For players that are unarmored, you're 10% more likely to get downed in 1.12 compared to 1.11. And if you're wearing plate carrier vest, you're a massive 54% more likely to get downed, meaning that the plate carrier in 1.12 provides half the protection the plate carrier did in 1.11. The press vest, otherwise known as the ballistic vest, is 25% less effective in 1.12, and the same goes for the stab vest. Which leaves us with the tactical vest being as effective as wearing no armor at all in 1.12, which is a massive nerf to this vest. So to summarize here, the plate carrier and stab vest have had a buff in how much health damage they can absorb in this patch, but everything else has had a nerf. Now if we take all of the numbers we've seen in this video, the chances of going unconscious in 1.11 was 20%, but now in 1.12 it's 63%, meaning on average 3 times more gunfights will end in somebody going unconscious, but due to other factors of course, I'd reduce that to a 50-50 chance of either dying or going unconscious. All of this info I'm sure changes the way you look at damage and armor in this patch. It certainly did for me, but what I want to know is which vest is the best now, because the stab vest has been improved and the plate carrier vest is still just as heavy as it used to be. Here are the stats of the 3 vests in DayZ to compare them yourself. Let me know in the comments which one you believe is best. In other news, only the 7.62x5.4s and the 308 rounds will now cause a player to become stunned, which is a change the majority of the community wanted, but do you think there should be any other changes to damage or armor before this goes to stable? Thank you for all of the comments in the last video. We got 700 comments in less than 24 hours, which is absolutely insane, along with hitting 100,000 subscribers during that video. Thank you very much guys. But the biggest thanks I have to give are to those on Patreon and YouTube members, because I would quite literally not be making videos without their financial support, so I'm going to be giving away a copy of DayZ plus Livonia to a random Patreon or YouTube member before my next video drops. Thank you very much for watching, and a special thanks to Joe Scrub and Fixer for the help with this video.